Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Camerascore, where we discuss all things media. And this week we are talking about an epic of a different era, the Odyssey. Christopher Nolan strikes again, or does he? Let's get started with the positives.
No one could stand between my bed and home. Not even me.
There are so many things to gush about in this film. The visuals are immaculate, spectacular, the grand scenes that some people argue are only best seen in 70 millimeter. I don't know if that's exactly the case. I still think it's a great movie if you don't see it that way, but those formats do let you see a little bit more of the aspect ratio that he was really working with. The lighting is beautiful. All the visual effects, both practical and unpractical, look really great. And to be honest, based on how he usually operates, the Tenet airport crash scene, he does most things, if not all things, practically. And they look amazing here. The creatures and the different apparent magic times that he shows. Cersei and her witchcraft and the way she does that. Absolutely spectacular. The way that she molds these men into animals is both horrific and I, visual effect greatness. Just done exceptionally well. Now, if you consider that a spoiler, this is like a centuries old story. I don't know how else to break it to you, but you're centuries behind. But the transformation of this Odyssey, this story, onto the screen has been done in such an exceptional way that I only truly believe a few directors could have pulled off in this way. And Christopher Nolan is one of them ones, man. Just great work done there. Even with the way that the story is told, I'm not always the biggest fan of a flashback and a kind of diced up story, but the way it's done here through the perspective of Odysseus and the people that knew him is just so insane. I mean, the way that they display his emotions and the journey to come back home and even the final reveal is just so great. The way it tugs on your heartstrings, the way it tugs on a bowstring is done exceptionally well in a way that I don't think I've seen in a very long time in theaters. I became a big Greek mythology fan after God of War. And ever since then, I've really been on it. So every callback, every mention of a Greek character or a Greek mythos character that I knew just made it an even greater experience. Where I was like, that's what's her name? It was really cool for that to happen in this way. And a matter of fact, I do have to read the books now. Another really cool thing is the acting from all the characters. They all do great jobs. Tom Holland, I'm not gonna lie, has been a little iffy throughout the years, but here he delivers exceptionally. Matt Damon, of course, we already knew that. John Bernthal, it's interesting seeing him in a little bit of a different role. He's still a little bit of a macho man, but he does have some different aspects and elements to him. I think that was really well done. And then all the quote unquote controversial characters are so short lived, like Elliot and Lupita Nyong'o, that I don't understand why people were even mad about them in the first place. They're not even real. There's maybe a description of what they look like, but that can even vary from story to story. But everyone here delivers exceptionally in their performances. Robert Pattinson, going from the heroic Batman to this sniveling suitor who wants the woman but doesn't want to really fight for her, is another cool angle too. Just great performances from all of them, and the way that they play out through this large story that almost doesn't necessarily feel like 3 hours is great. I also love the question of morale, the morality of Zeus's law. I mean, if that really existed back then, no one would really follow it. I mean, whatever law people created would never be followed in these times anyway. They just pillage and destroy. That's how things worked for those centuries. But the way that they challenge this concept of trying to save his men versus his men deserving to be saved. The concept of being this great general and war hero versus reconciling with the fact that you've led these angry men into the walls on the premise of a gift, breaking Zeus's law. And then the concept of the people of the sea, these outside invaders who don't respect Zeus's law and threaten the balance of the world, being the same people that you're rooting for was really, really cool. I just love when they take these concepts of macho and military victories and they challenge them with critical thinking and the deservedness of victory and glory versus leaving people alone to be in their lands. It is very, very interesting how they take this spin on the story that, I mean, it was already in the story from what I've seen, but I just love to see this played out on the big screen. Even with Helen of Troy saying, I apologize for all that has been done in my name. That is a powerful message that hits home that is also kind of conveyed in the original story, but repeated here, where it's essentially addressing all these things that we attribute to the necessities of war and the glory and the blood of it aren't necessarily worth it when you really think about it in the grand scheme. So even with Odysseus making it home and journeying back, it kind of displays and conveys the fact that he realizes, hey, maybe I'm not some great hero or person like that. Maybe I am the very thing I fear. The Zeus's lawbreaker is me. And I love that they explore that throughout this film. Even the way he has these suitors in his house and he's complaining about who they are, he realizes that of course they're there because I've created the world that I feared, where these are the kind of people that have power and have agency to exist. Really, really solid work. The only downside of this film is
Speak in ways we understand.
Who doesn't understand pain? Or blood? The gods told you.
Then I defy the gods.
I feel like a slight amount of the pacing and a little bit of the action choreography could have been better. Now, it is 3 hours, and like I said, it doesn't feel like 3 hours, but it does still feel a little bit long. Now, I know this is a large and grand story, and I think it is very difficult to squeeze all of this into one film, so I give him amazing, amazing credit for that. But I do still think there are some moments that could have been tightened up just a little bit more, just a tiny bit. And in terms of the action, if I'm being honest with myself, Christopher Nolan has never been the greatest action hand to hand combat director ever. I mean, even in The Dark Knight, there were still scenes where I was like, what is he doing? And even beyond that, he's just never been the greatest at conveying what's happening with the action and showing the movements and showing the setups. He is very character focused, and that's fine. Certain zoom ins during fight scenes are acceptable. You want to see how the character's reacting and how they're feeling, but we'd also love to see what in the world he's even doing. And there's some times where he's swinging the sword or he's creating a parry, and it's not even really focused on the action, it's focused on his reaction to those things. Again, I understand he's more character focused, but sometimes that can be a little too much and takes away from the beauty of the scene that we're trying to see. We want to see him be this amazing warrior who can string up a bow that no one else can even get close to. And I think some of that direction takes away from that action. But other than that, an immaculate film. I really, really think that this one should be put up there in the great classics of Greek mythology films, just because of how much it covers, how far it goes, and how hard the points of him not wanting to be seen as this great warrior go. The challenge of being a general that's given these medals and respected versus a man who feels for the people he's conquered and feels for the people that he unleashed his warriors on. I think that is done exceptionally well in this film, and I think it makes it very important for years and years to come. And that's probably why the Odyssey has survived as this mythos for so long, just because of the morals in it and the fantastical nature. I even love how they start off with in a time of apparent magic where people don't believe at first in these gods, but then they see and they feel the wrath of Zeus, the the hatred coming from Apollo, the vengeance of Poseidon. These things are experienced and lived in through the world without being over the top in the way Percy Jackson kind of does it. Even though Percy Jackson has its own place as being over the top, simply because it has a little bit more of that fantastic nature of him specifically using magic and having a goat as a best friend. It's how it goes. But like I said, absolutely love what was done here and love the direction that they took it. But I'm just here for the camera score. And for this, I rate it 9 turned comrades out of 10. 9 Zeus lightning bolts out of 10. 9 arrows shot through axes out of 10. Great film, spectacular film. Slight tweaks could have made it a little bit better, in my opinion, but who am I to say? I'm not the real filmmaker. Great work done here. If you were to give it a 10, I wouldn't even argue with you. I just like a little bit more of action direction showing what you can see for real. And I just feel like it could have been tweaked a little bit more. I know that you want to appease all the people who are going to be like, this was in the story. Why isn't it here? Forget them. It's not about them. They can go read the book if they want every specific moment. But you let me know. Did you love this film? Did you hate it? Was it a long, boring slog fest? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see y'all on the next one.